As I said in my email, which obviously scared you because you came, there have been some changes in federal aid requirements concerning satisfactory academic progress. We've always had that, but it hasn't been very stringent, and now it's getting more stringent. So if you advise athletes, you're ready for this because it's kind of similar. So Crystal is going to give us an orientation to some of these new regulations. Come in here. This is for you. He saved it for you.
All right. So I'm Crystal, and I'm the Director of Academic Services. And first thing I'm going to go through is just some basic advising stuff, because I think some people are forgetting little things. So I'm going to talk about the academic policies and procedures, which is your pink paper in your packet. People forget about the English, and some students don't think they have to take an English every semester until they're done. So we had one in the fall who failed English 106, and then this semester she wasn't registered, so I made her register, and she's like, well, somebody told me I could take it this summer, and I was like, nope, you can't do that. So English is a big one that they have to continue taking it every semester until done. If they play straight into 110, then 110 they're done and they can go on into something else. Other than that, I think it's being miscommunicated and they don't think they have to. English is a prereq for a lot of classes, so we always encourage them to get it done. Religion core is another thing. People think, well, I could take one now, take one later. No, you have to take your religion core every semester until you're done. So, and of course it starts with, Old and New Testament and then goes into the theology. DAL classes.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
If I've had students who are transfer students who it was difficult to find courses for them to take, can they double up on religion classes, like do Old and New Testament at the same time?
They can, but we don't recommend it because it gets a little cloudy. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like taking two history classes at the same time. And so, they can do it. It's not recommended. Maybe if they're a theology major, maybe they can handle it. But I know for myself, I couldn't handle it. But if they can take it in the summer, and my notes say if they take it in the summer, they can possibly skip it in the fall and pick it back up in the spring. But I would rather them constantly take it and get it done. Because if not, they get in their senior year trying to graduate and they can't do it. DAL classes, we've had a lot of advisors saying, oh, just go take a DAL class. It's not that easy. It's against our policy, actually. So it's become more common to do it. And I would like to say don't push for it if you can, but it happens. So the process is you have to get a petition, and then if that gets approved, then DAL plugs it in. There's a difference. There's a DAL and there's DOL and OL sections. OL they can take without a petition, but if it's DOL, it's a DAL class and they have to get a petition and get it approved. Another thing is transients. We have a lot of students in the summer who just go take a class, don't tell us, don't get permission, and then transfer their work back and think it's okay. So encourage your students, if they want to go to another school to take a class, to make sure they come see us to get a transient. And if it's in fall and spring, they have to have a petition. They cannot just take a class and be enrolled here too. It's a no-no. Service hours is a big thing that we've got going on right now. We have a lot of students who come in with an associate's degree as a freshman. And this has just started. So we're talking 60 hours of credit. Well, they think, well, I'm only going to be here 2 years, so I only need 40 service hours. Well, our policy is if you're a beginning freshman, even with credit, if you came straight from high school, with you graduated in May, you started in August, you have to have 80 hours. So if your advisee says, hey, I'm only going to be here 6 semesters, well, if they transferred with 16 credits or more, then yes, it's 10 hours each semester. But if they came straight from high school, they have to have 80. So we've had this semester, we had one girl take a whole PowerPoint presentation to Dr. Lamb and try to say this isn't fair for us dual students. Well, you get 10 hours in your gateway. So we're giving you 10 hours just to come here. So that's another key indicator. If they take gateway, they have to have 80 hours. And then the core math requirements, that is the blue page. And these are in the process of being changed for people who are doing teacher licensure. So it has not been passed yet, but come 2019, anybody who is like History BAT, BST, HESTI BST, there's a few of them in there. They're going to be changing to need Math 161. So coming this fall, if you're advising a student who is doing some kind of teacher licensure, check this list and make sure you kind of say, hey, you know, if you can take 161, take 161, so that they're prepared in next year whenever. It's part of the new Ed TPA. So that is a requirement coming down. Also, we have students who think they can go take their remedial math in the summer and transfer it back and then take statistics in the fall. Cannot do that. We do not accept remedial math. Dr. DeLaLuz will not accept remedial math. All right. The other thing is the associate's degree transfer policy, and I know it's kind of a gray area. So if you have a student who comes in with an Associate of Science or an Associate of Arts, once they get here, I will go in and waive most of their core except these requirements. So they still have to do religion core. They still have to have at least 40 hours, well, the maximum of 40 hours of service. They still have to do global perspectives and benevolence, their trip. If they're BA, they have to have their foreign language. And if there's any prereqs, so like I use statistics, or so they took Math 111 and they transferred it in, but they need statistics in order to take research methods. They'll need to take statistics here in order to get in. So and if they have a bachelor's degree, which we've had quite a few coming in for nursing, everything is waived except the religion core. Right, Aaron? That's right.
Unless they had a bachelor's and then they're going into a
BA.
that they didn't have foreign language in their other bachelor's and they're pursuing a BA now.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying waiving, like if somebody comes in with an associate's degree and they didn't take like history or any of those things, we're just not caring about that? We're not doing
We
that?
waive it.
Okay. So it's not a matter of transferring in hours that they've already taken?
I try to go in and look to find what may have fallen into the other courses to see. You know, so if they had like history 211, I'll move it up into the history 212 just so, and I'll try to fulfill everything I can, but humanities are waived, their social sciences are waived, even their lab science is waived. So you'll see it because when I adjust it on their degree audit, you'll see where I put associate transfer policy. And so it's getting hard because I didn't look at my data, but last year alone, we did a whole bunch of these. And every time they change their major, we have to adjust their degree audit again. So keep that in mind. If you see that I haven't done one, but you see they have one, let me know because sometimes we just miss them when they change their major. Any other questions? All right, so we're getting ready for Lee Day. And so it's looking pretty big. This is a trial schedule form, and it's not very good, but I write in green. So if you get a trial schedule form, a whole advising packet, I'm going to try to write everything I know about the student on it so that you are informed. If they have, like you can see down here, I put the maths that they're transferring in. I attach the transcript copies. If they have not been put in the system yet, like in January, people basically bring their transcripts with them to registration, so I don't have time to evaluate them. I'll also write at the top, this is a transfer student, so they go straight into Lee 102A and B. We try to, their first semester, go ahead and get them in that and get those done. So just be aware that I'm trying to prep their packets so that you know everything. If there's anything written at the bottom, that's for y'all, so that y'all can advise them right. At the top is their English placement and their math placements. Of course, this is a transfer student, so they don't usually have that, but if you look down, you can see their English classes and their math classes. So I put complete. So that's just something to look at, because last year we did 531 schedules at Lee Day. This year they want 532. So just so you know, that's what it's going to be, and you're going to see those. So I don't know if any of y'all know about the new self-service portion in Portico. It is my best friend. So let me go. All right, so if you go into Portico, right here it says self-service. Right here is advising. And after I worked all summer prepping files, Nate tells me about this in August. So this is my only advisee is Santa Claus. But we don't even want to know what Santa's up to this semester. But I can type in, so I'll type in my daughter. I don't know if y'all can do that. But I can look at every student. So I'm going to go. No. She doesn't know, she just got put up on the screen.
You know, can I ask a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if there's any possibility that could be a possibility, because we can get to their degree audit through another way in Portico, but then we can't. I'm getting so accustomed to using this program that it's really frustrating to have to go back and do it the old way for one exceptional student when I have somebody who hasn't changed to our major yet or something, and we need to help them figure out what they're doing.
That would be something to ask Nate Tucker about. But that also, you'll hear in a few minutes when I talk about the new federal regulations, changing majors is very important. So they can't take classes that aren't in their current major, but we'll go there in a minute. So this is their course plan. So you can kind of see Santa has all this stuff planned out. And I don't know who planned all this, and I don't know how this fully works either. I think there's more that can be done in this, because I think you can at some point. It did say up in here at one time where you could try to register them or approve their planned courses, which is, I don't see that now. I don't know what the review complete is. But this is the one I use all the time, is their progress. So to me, it just looks prettier, and it helps me to kind of see he's completed that. He's planned these. I don't know why Santa thinks he can. Oh, well, that was fall. So Santa's already planned out to do Theo in the spring, which he didn't register for. And then he's planned out for this for the fall. And bless his little heart, he's going backwards. So he can't do that, but it's just a prettier thing. And so when I'm looking, it helps me. I'm a visual person. I hate looking at just degree audits all alone, because this also tells you other things that they can take bigger down in here. So to me, it's prettier, and I found a lot of faculty when I talked to them actually like this better. You can also click, so he's looking for fall. Those aren't active yet, so let's look for spring. I think you can kind of look and find available sections and also sort it over here. Which term, which days of the week, instructor, and then you can add it to his schedule. But the student can add it. If they use this, they can add it to their plan. So I've played around with my daughters, and I add stuff to her plan just so I can see what it does, because I really like this stuff. So I would talk to Nate about seeing other students. I have to use it because it may be helpful for y'all, for our new incoming students, when you're advising them at Lee Day or the one in June. which I will tell you, the one in June is actually going to be June 15th. And it's a combination of our June event and our summer honors. So it's going to be like a big mini Lee Day. So,
Are there any tutorials of the
I don't know. I don't think I've seen any yet. I had to figure it out on my own.
I can do it.
Yeah, I like it. And you can also see if they have, and you can on their degree audit too, but look, you can see all his other advisors, which he has a whole bunch of advisors, man. But if he had a student success coach or a leap coach, you could see that on there too. So, poor Santa. I think you can also see his unofficial transcript. And it looks different than our transcript. Where did it go? Oh, come
And
on.
you can see that transcript even if they have a balance.
This one you
You
can?
can't see it on the other one.
Oh. See, he figured something out. It looks different to me, but it shows their hours attempted, which you can't see that on their on their regular transcript. And so, Santa's
you teach Ranger nutrition?
and elf management. Who does that? Intro to sleigh riding. I don't know who created these, but they were awfully creative. So anyway, that just kind of gives you an idea of what this can do. And it's right up under your nose, right there. You can also see, and you've probably used this to print your W-2s and stuff. It's a self-service app. So, all right, so now we're going to go into the new regulations for financial aid. This actually went in effect 2 years ago. But as long as we show we're making progress, they're not going to get on to us. So basically, federal aid will only pay for classes required for their degree. So if it's on their degree audit, it'll pay for it. If it's not going to pay for it.
So if it ends up in the
Other courses, not going to pay for it.
So what about undeclared students?
Undeclared students is different. They will have it set up because they're still exploring and they can do that for 2 years. So those will still kind of be, and I don't know how we're going to do that yet. We're still figuring out the background of this. So like right now, every class a student takes except for, there's a few, they're all marked degree applicable. Well, once we go in and flip the switch that's in another screen, it will only look at classes that are on your degree audit. So, undecided will be fine because they're exploring. But anybody that has another program, if it falls down into their bucket of other courses and not electives, then it will flag financial aid and say this person's only taken 9 hours of degree applicable classes. So they won't pay for but 9 and 3 has to come out of somewhere else.
So if they're paying for 12 full time, does that affect it if they're taking 16?
I don't know how it will work.
Because 15 is 15, I mean, 12 is
Yeah.
12 is 12.
I don't know if Mary and I have just started working on it. She was going to be here today, but she went to the funeral. But I don't know if they're going to have to go in and adjust the tuition to take that out. I don't know how that's going to work.
that's not the question, because once you reach 12,
It's flat fee.
it's the same
Right.
fee.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume if we can get them with 12 hours within
Their
the degree
major.
audit, whether it be an elective and or a requirement, after that, I would assume we fulfilled the financial aid piece of the puzzle.
That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
Okay, so what, is there a workaround in any way? So you have a student who's thinking about changing the major, but they don't know for sure. So we often say take the prereq class to find out if this is good for you or not. Is there a workaround to be able to do that?
If it is a major where they have a bucket of electives, So like some of the majors have like up to 30 hours of electives. That is fine.
Okay.
Also, if we mark it as a substitute of some sort, it will be fine.
But if it's in that, so if you have 20 electives and.
Yeah, and as long as,
it's a, okay.
yeah, so here is a degree audit. Let me make this bigger. Well, where did it go? There it is. So you see anything that falls right up in here is covered. Anything that falls down in here, if they're registered for it. Now, if they registered for it in the past and it's down here, you don't worry about it. But if it has an IP or pre-registered and it's down here, we need to figure out how to move it up. Because what will happen is financial aid will start sending the student email saying, you're taking a class that is not part of your major. Mm-hmm.
What's the difference in an other course and an elective?
Yes. Once you fill the elective basket, then they start populating it.
Okay.
So if a student came in with a lot of transfer credit, it goes boom, right all into that
Yep.
elective. Now it's completely full.
So
So that
they couldn't
means
do the
they would
same.
have to take every course.
Okay, okay.
Or we would have to force it to take it
I
out.
see what you're saying.
What about for credit hour differences? I mean, you can have 17 hours of elective are required, but the student takes a 3-hour class that puts them to 18. Are they going to be taking that 1 hour?
I think because the course is fulfilling a requirement, I think it'll be okay. That'll be one of those things we have to kind of work out the kinks on. Because like we have resources at other schools that we're asking about this stuff, like, because some people have been doing it for a few years, so we're in the process of figuring it all out. But I'm sure as long as it is fulfilling something up there, because what will happen is if they're pre-registered, they need 1 in their elective, and they register for 3, it's still going to fill that elective bucket. 2 of the hours don't fall down into other courses. All 3 will go up there. Uh-huh.
What about
I can
athletes
email
that
'em.
Take 1 credit golf, 1 credit.
They can only do that if they have electives. They don't have to register for golf. But if they're in a major like teaching, there's not an elective bucket. If they're in something like psychology, there's a big one. Yeah, yeah, yes.
So if they're taking, say, 15 hours and they want to take a 1 credit hour golf, the 15 hours is part of the degree program, and that 1 credit hour isn't.
That should be.
That's okay because their
Over 12
full-time status is based on all the.
We're hoping, we're not 100% sure how that's going to work yet because we haven't gotten that far. But we're hoping as long as it's in the 12 to 16 hour range, it's a flat fee. So it's not like we charge any different. The thing is, if they were taking 12 hours and only 9 of those were degree applicable, then they would have to come up with the difference out of their own pocket. I think they're fine in the bucket. Mary and I will have to play with it a little bit, but I think as long as they stick within the 12 to 16, they can take whatever they want. A lot of this is exactly like NCAA. Students can only take stuff that applies to their major. Another problem we have is students who say, I'm going to change my major. I'll change it next week. I'll change it the next week. They can't do that. So this is going to force them to go to calling in career, change their major, because if not, if they're a business student and they're changing to psychology and they want to take all these psych classes, it's not going to pay for them. So that's another thing that's coming up. So the goal is to get this done in fall. So this summer, figure it out. Luckily, all of our classes are already linked, so we don't have to go in. We thought at first we were going to map all these things out. You have a question?
Yeah, I find that Portico is often inaccurate in calculating elective hours because some students need more English, some need less. Frequently, that number is not accurate. Is that going to have any impact on how this works?
Oh, no.
The number not dynamic.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always a buffer built into those
Yeah.
electives. The electives are always buffered for the degree audit's sake. And frequently, when you clear for graduation, you have to reduce the
Adjust
number
it.
actually necessary to reach 120 That hasn't happened as much since we switched to 120-hour programs, but it's
Yeah.
frequently
Mm-hmm.
buffered for those.
Bigger than they need.
Yeah. So a lot of times when I'm clearing degree audits for graduation, I want it to say anticipated completion. And if they've done all their service hours, I look down at electives and they still need 3 electives, but they don't really need electives, so I
They've got
adjust it.
120.
Yeah. So I will
Then you
adjust it.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's never gonna hurt them, because there's always more hours.
There's more
than
room in
they-
there.
than they would
It
need.
gives them room to play. So I don't know if we need to add electives to some other programs and then adjust them. I don't know.
Hours attempted, how does that, for instance, let's say I'm gonna pull music theory out of the air. We have some students that have trouble getting through theory 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
If they have to take it the second time, it's the second time.
It'll pay for the second time, I
But not
think.
the third.
I think it's the third. Financial aid will not pay for that course a third time. Yes.
Let's say we had a student who did have 15 hours, but they realized partway through the semester they have to drop one of them. It had better be an elective. You shouldn't really drop, they couldn't drop one that would be towards graduation. Or
Yeah.
will it only be at the beginning of the semester?
It's only at the beginning of the semester.
Okay, so
They
after
look.
the
I think
beginning-
they'll look at it at the beginning, and then once the aid pays, I don't think they're going to go back and look at 5,000
Okay, so
students
that's
again.
not something if they're dropping, we need to.
I don't think so.
About
It will. I mean, as long as they stay within the. I don't think they'll go backwards. Now, Marion may make it different, and we'll send an update once we figure everything out.
Any GPA requirement?
Mm-mm. Just whatever it is to get aid to stay. Yeah.
Tag on what she's saying and what we said about the 2 times. So are they gonna start looking at how many times they withdraw from a class?
I wish.
Well, they are, I mean,
They watch
financial
that
aid
stuff.
has always looked at withdrawals include in the PACE calculation, so they look at PACE for the year. You have to complete 67% of your courses attempted, and withdrawals are included in that. So we don't include withdrawals in our GPA calculation as impacting that, but they look at it in that attempted versus
Mhm.
completed number. So financial aid has always looked at it for that. I don't know about the repeat, but
Yeah.
they're always looking at that number for overall pace and progress.
Yes.
Okay. I've been thinking about this since your email a couple days ago. Here's the big deal. I can understand this. I could get my advisors to understand this. I can have my advisors tell the students, you must do this. We click the button, let them go. They register for
Whatever they want.
And there's no touch point at which an advisor ever looks again
Mm-hmm.
to see, did they take the 12 hours I said that all need to be there? And it, at that moment in time, becomes totally reliant upon the student until they panic and say, financially
What?
not gonna pay.
Yep.
So there is no catch for them at this moment in time in our system to say, hey, you're on track or you're not on track.
That goes back to the new self-service thing. I'm pretty sure it has a way that you approve what they want to take, and I think they can only register from that. I need to get with Nate, but
We once did that.
And it didn't work?
Individual courses, and we decided to throw that away.
Okay.
As the way approved for you to go. And
Okay.
so we moved from that system because it was laborious. I approved lab number 1, section number 1. No, I really wanted lab section number 3. No, I really wanted it.
oh, I think this one lets you just approve the course in general and not specific or specific
But
sections.
that would be nice, but the last time it was down to individual courses, individual sections.
Yeah.
So, at this moment in time, if the way that we have it, where we just open up and say, we've talked to you, we're gonna write notes and say what we talked to you about, there's no catch for them. There's no review process.
Is that something that could be worked into the program so that when students go to register, if they're under the necessary 12 hours, let's say, that they get a warning,
a warning.
you know, like signal?
I think so. I think we're going to have to do it early, especially like starting with early class selection and advanced class selection events. So you can see he just planned generic. And so I think there is a way if you say, okay, you plan out your classes, I want to look at them, I'll approve them off of this. I'm not 100% sure, but if we could get this working, this would help with our athletes too, and we wouldn't have to manually do all of
So
them.
we have to think about process for how we interact with students, for this to be implemented in a way that's going to be, that we have a helping hand with them. Or it's going to be a steep learning curve for our students.
Or the ones that don't read their emails.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know how it's going to work. I went to a workshop when I went to an advising conference, and they said that they send out alerts. So I don't know, some sort of alert, as soon as the student registers, it'll flag it and send it. Anytime they make a schedule change, it'll flag it. That is my goal.
That would be, yeah, there has to be
And we may
some
have to
sort
do
of-
text and not email, because I don't think they read their emails.
And so,
No.
Yeah, I think
That-
we would
that's
have
my-
to
that's my fear
block
in this.
the completion of the registration if it's not until they've, proved I'm gonna pay the extra for the
Yeah.
extra course or whatever,
So it's something, I meet with Mary, and she went to a financial aid conference last week, and she has a friend who has been helping her with the financial aid part of this. And so I meet with her again next week to start talking through the logistics of this process and how we want to get it rolling. But I didn't want y'all to all be left in the dark. So when you're advising them and they say, I'm changing my major, make sure you tell them, go get that done.
But it's not retroactive, so if
No.
they're looking toward a major for a while, they're keeping the classes that are in that major, they're fine. Then they change majors. All of those classes from their old major bump down into general electives, and a bunch of them fall into other courses.
Mm-hmm.
But by this time, it's over and done with.
No, it's going forward.
So going forward, then
Mhm.
they're just going to have to be careful not to take anything that is outside of that new major or another requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
It's not,
Well, but that takes me to substitutions, because I do those all the time. If you have approved a student to take a class and you say, well, we'll let that count for whatever, make sure that that gets to me in a timely manner. And I'm not the best at doing them because my job is so large and I focus on who's graduating. But if I know that this is going to impede, it's going to hurt their financial aid, I will get the sub done, because if I sub it, that's another thing. As long as we sub it, then it'll pay for it. So if we've approved that it will count for something else, financial aid will pay for it, but it has to show on the degree audit so that financial aid the report can pull it and show, yes, this is a degree applicable class for this student.
I've taken to wait till after they've taken it to make the sub. Now what we
'Cause
want
they
to do is make
change
the
it.
sub as soon as they register for it, really.
Yeah, and we're trying to think through a way to do it where it's more electronic and more simplified, because I get them email, I get students bring them in to me, and I just keep them in a folder until I can get to them.
And those substitutions are authorized by chairs? Or
Chairs
by-
and deans. They have to be authorized by, so if one of your advisors sends it to you, and then, so Dr. Thompson does that a lot. So his faculty will email him, and then he'll say, I approve this, and send it on. But we may have to get something more, kind of like the grade change system is what I'm thinking. Something that you pull it down and you do the substitution and it's done. And then it's automatic and I can see it, and it's not.
With a couple approvals on it. So
Yes.
Tom has to approve it and then
Mhm.
it comes to you.
Yes, so it doesn't get approved until the dean or chair is the final approval. So that's another thing, and we have to have proof of that. So I keep all these things in their advising file, because if financial aid, or well, the feds, as Marion calls it, if they come in and say, why'd you pay for this class? We have proof of why we paid for that class. Did you have a question?
I did.
Did I answer it? I kind of heard you out here. Yeah,
What about remedial courses?
it pays for remedial.
We allow them to count towards elective. We're one of the few universities that does. A lot of arguments about about remedial classes is that they have to take it, they're required, and they don't count, and they have to pay for it. That doesn't apply to me. Now, our remedial classes won't transfer to anywhere, but for internal purposes, if we make them take the remedial, it does count towards the degree in the elective category. And so
Yeah, or it'll
taking them
fall.
early If you wait and fill up all your electives, and then in your last semester, oh no, I have to take remedial to finish my math, then they're out of luck. So taking your remedial as soon as possible is now much, much more important than it was in the past.
And it'll pay for prereqs. So
The
like,
issue is that there's no very few electives in the and there's
yeah, and so in that case, it would be flagged where it is really a prereq. And so any prereq that is not part of their major but is required is covered by financial aid. Anything else? Mm-hmm.
What about a student who's later in their career, a senior sitting around in their 8th semester here that has completed most of the degree and only has maybe 8 or 9 hours left in the major? What do they do with the extra? They've completed their electives, they've completed major requirements.
Is there any way to get full-time other than putting in a double major
Putting it and then removing it.
and then removing it before, which is a game to play. If they're going to play a game in one way, we could put in a second major and then have a bunch of other required courses, and then before they graduate, they remove that in their application process.
I mean,
There shouldn't be any, the reason we pad those elective bins is so that doesn't happen. So they
Yeah.
only need 9 hours, in their required courses, but they still need 3 more, to reach that 120. That's why we pad the electives so that they haven't completed all the electives, and still haven't reached 120. So hopefully that wouldn't happen.
I've got-
But
Yeah,
Except for-
I was talking to a student today, my student worker. She has 6, she's in her senior semester, only has 6 hours required, took 12 to become full-time, but she came in with all of this transfer credit,
Yeah.
summer honors, and that filled up everything. And so, for her, that would be a real problem.
mm-hmm.
In terms of, and she's 8th semester, not early.
So our
not late.
workaround would be to add something else and then remove it.
Could you add a minor?
Mm-hmm.
A minor would count. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can add a minor, but just towards the end, make sure you remove it or you won't get
International
cleared.
students do that quite often, where they add majors and minors and allows it to expand things for them, because they're still exploring, and so that has gotten, that's a way to.
But here's the key, financial aid will only pay for 150%. So if your degree is a 4-year degree, they'll only pay for 6 years, and after that, you're done. So you could change your major all day long, but internationals don't get aid, so it's different. But, so yes, I say to add something. If they're going to be this hard, we can go pad some stuff with extra electives if we need to. Another thing is, if you know, Dr. DeLaLuz did this other day, if you know that there's substitutions that are always done, go in and let us in the background adjust the degree audit so that, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's some that they'll say, well, the student had this and not this. We can go in the background. They won't know it's there, but it will automatically fulfill it so that we don't have to do a substitution every time. So if it's a common thing that y'all sub, let us go in the background and make it easier so that I'm not subbing it every time. Because another thing is, if a student changes their major and they have substitutes, Darla gets a flag. Where's Darla? Darla gets a flag, and she says, here you go, you've got to move these subs over if they apply. So then I have to move. So we have students that change their major 10 times. 10. How many in one semester was that one girl? 6 last semester? 6.
One semester.
So if she had an associate's degree, you can imagine how many times I'm adjusting her stuff.
And it's all manual.
It's all manual, and there's no way to move it over. You don't want it to be automatic because you may not want it to apply to the next major. So if it was something that was only approved by Dr. DeLaLuz and they changed their major to something else, I'm not going to move that over without talking to the next person. So that just kind of gives you an idea how big this mess is. So,
A lot more talking between the advisors and the chairs for substitutions.
yes.
And we have to do it in a timely process during ACS. And, which changes the dynamic and when we do things.
Yeah. Is there any other questions or any thoughts? Or, I mean, we'll still kind of think through this over the next few months and kind of figure out where we're going, because I found out about this in October, and then I went and talked to Marion, and she was like, yes, you're actually on my radar. I want this done next year. I'm glad you're on board. The only reason I'm on board is because I did clearinghouse for 5 years. And so reporting student programs and how many times they change their major and start and end dates, are they full-time, all that stuff to me, I know the importance of it. And so then when I see this, I'm like, well, I know we got to do this. We want aid. We don't want to lose our aid because then we would lose students. So is there anything else y'all have concerns about, thoughts about, suggestions?
I just throwing out an idea that actually Chris Williams had, creating a general studies minor so that any 6 classes could be a minor in the school. So, I don't know, somebody higher up than our pay grade.
We'd have to take that to curriculum and
So
on
they
up
could
the
declare
chain.
minor and still be in the program, but it could be any 6 classes.
I'm all for padding some programs a little bit if we can.
We have a 9-hour minor.
A 9-hour minor? You do?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh.
Make it 9 hours, so if
Yeah.
someone had one class requirement, make it reach full-time status.
So it's all things to think about. So when you start advising, you're probably already doing it. Just start thinking through that. And if they say, hey, I'm changing my major, say, hey, go do that right now. Not that we want to see all those, do we, Darla? But it will kind of get us on the track so that when this goes into play, they're not surprised. All right.
It starts in,
They want it to start in the fall. Yeah, it started 2 years ago.
as we are advising right now, we need to be telling them now. It's not that we start telling them in the fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so I will, I sent out an email to the deans and chairs yesterday. So hopefully they'll pass that on down to their advisors. We'll also, when we start prepping for Lee Day, we'll send that out too. We don't want our new students to get slapped and say, you can't get aid now because you're not registered in the right classes, because sometimes they go and decide they're going to change their major while they're talking to their advisor, and then Darla and I don't know about it. So it's really important on the trial schedule form, if you know they're not taking the major that we have up there, that you write what they're changing it to.
Unless they're undeclared.
Unless they're undeclared. Undeclared,
Unless they're undeclared in their team.
yes. Well, if they're in their second year undeclared, then we've got our third year. We probably need to do a little intervention. Calling and Career has all them. They know about them. They ask about them all the time. Anything else? Well, thank y'all for attending. If anything pops up in your head, shoot me an email. You'll come visit me. Oh.
If you didn't get a handout, we'll email it.
Yeah, if you need a handout, we'll email it to you. Thank you.
Getting to me. Oh, no, it's February.